All right, you legends, we're at it again. We got some rain in the area this Saturday. Bro, it's cold and it's wet. And it's not a combination to come out in and be cute and not have protection on the wheels. Like you see here, you see there. So it's just Paul and I because the roads are wet. It rained all night and it's up to 100% chance of rain for the rest of the day. And the temperatures will be below 10 Celsius most of the day. So we're gonna be in the 40s. That means it'll feel colder. Yep. And so we're equipped. I got neoprene gloves on.
Ready to go.
Paul's got his sport full on, rain jacket. I got my rain jacket. We're ready to go. So we're not gonna be wet, nor are we gonna be dirty, because we're not riding with anybody that don't have mud guards. We'll get some clips for you all. Should be interesting.
On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton. We took the western tip of our area, went up Creekside. We filmed that. It was rainy, cold. We only rode together because we did not want to get sprayed on by riders who don't have fenders or mud guards. So we went out past Cairn. We filmed on 149 until we got to Jackson and then 1486, and we turned it off, went by the Tri-Lakes area there. We came down, the temperatures just stayed low. It was like 7 Celsius for most of the ride. It was nice. The rain was steady. It was light rain, but there was enough of it to where it rained pretty much the whole day. Once we got back into the Woodlands, we filmed the end of the ride to just kind of show there's some construction in the area and the roads are getting opened up with a new bridge. I think you will love the clips we got for you.
All right, you legends, we're live. I didn't even hear it beep.
We're on Creekside Forest.
That car was coming by. Look at the road, guys. You think we lived in the desert? It's exciting to have some rain.
This is our first rainy ride of 2022. That's how weird the weather has been. Because normally we have a lot of rain in June in our area. I have the ASSOS rain jacket on from the RS line. Very breathable, so I treat it like another layer. So I wore just a regular base layer, short sleeve, my thermal jersey on there, and then the ASSOS jacket because I didn't want to have to unzip it. Because if you dress too warm in the rain, you'll have to unzip. And it was supposed to rain, and the rain never let up. The biggest pieces that will keep you dry is, number one, you need some mud guards on your bike because it's your wheels that get you dirty and wet. They wet your feet and they wet your front derailleur, they wet the chain if you don't have any mud guards on them, and they basically wash off your lube so that your chain starts to squeak on a rainy ride. So it's critical if you're going to ride in the rain for any extended period of time, you got to get mud guards on your bike, period. Otherwise, just stay indoors. And then booties, winter booties. I'm wearing the ASSOS winter booties.
You don't know what you're missing out here.
Cover your shoes. It will make a big difference. Of course, not all booties are created equal. You got to get those that are made for riding in the wet. Some of them just resist water for a short period of time. You want the ones that are basically waterproof, and a lot of them come with some breathability too. So this is a trade-off, you know. So, but they're better than having nothing on your shoes because our shoes have a lot of ventilation and water will get through that, and your feet will get squishy. So we were dry the entire time, and that makes a difference when it's cold. It's 7 Celsius. That's about 45 degrees Fahrenheit. It feels like 40 or 39 with the wind. So it stayed cold. And then you got to make sure your hands are warm. I'm wearing neoprene gloves on this ride.
Push that button.
I was asking this guy to push the button, but he didn't hear me. He had music on in his ear, so I'm just going to roll over there. I told him to have a good walk. He didn't hear me. He's got earbuds in.
Okay.
So I went over and pushed it. There's no car behind us. That's another thing about riding in the rain. The traffic is less than when it's dry. So you have the roads pretty much to yourself. Because really when it's wet and cold, nobody wants to get out. And then it's early in the morning too. So we have like maybe less than 50% of the volume of cars that we normally encounter. Which where we go is not a lot, but that means there was nothing out there. Even the dogs that usually chase us did not come out.
He can't hear.
We kind of missed them.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why you're not supposed
But
to
it's a great day, and that's why I'm wearing a light colored rain vest. Paul's also wearing a very visible rain vest. He's wearing the blue. So when it's gray like that, besides the light on the bike, you've got to dress accordingly. You know, you can wear whatever you want, especially if you've got lights on the bike. I turned down the blinking of my lights to there's a softer mode. Since it's overcast, it's like a night mode per se, because the light doesn't need to be super bright to be seen when it's overcast. When it's sunny during the day, then yeah, I put it on. This is a Creekside. We just went across Kirkendall. We're in the area. This is an area where usually during the week we sneak out for lunch, and we'll come out. We can do like an hour's ride real quickly and close to home. It's a good little route. A lot of cyclists come out here. It's got good lumps and light traffic, but it's not without its intersections, because you're basically in town. You are going through different subdivisions, so it's not that bad. So we decided to take this route, which will take us west to 2978 through an area called Oklahoma. That's how we decided to go out today, instead of going through the Woodlands. We went around the Woodlands. They've been adding stop signs. That's a new stop sign. I was just letting Paul know this is a new one. They're trying to calm the traffic down, because with the growth in the area, they're trying to slow people down. This stop sign was not here. This road had the right of way.
Yeah.
And they just added it. This area has a nice park, well, several parks, and then it's got lakes, man-made lakes. Pretty good size. It's beautiful, relatively new. They've been adding to it, but it's a good area to come and just do a short spin at lunchtime or something, because you can ride for enough kilometers without having to stop. It's a good loop a lot of cyclists use in the area. So you don't need heavy rain to make a wet ride miserable. Just the fact that the roads are wet, if you don't have protection on the wheels, you get that dirty rooster tail on your back, and your shorts get wet. And then when it's cold, you don't want to be wet. You get cold. That's the thing. So for our board where we post our rides for the guys that want to join us, I basically posted a ride that said, if you don't have mud guards, don't come out today, because it's going to be cold and wet.
Yeah.
And it's just not pleasant being wet in the cold with the wind and everything. You'll be miserable.
You guys didn't stop. No.
We're talking about the car that just passed us. He rolled through the next stop sign. This is a new stop sign. Usually when they put new stop sign, they put flags out to kind of get drivers to pay attention. This is a new one. It wasn't here before, and I guess he didn't see it. So I cannot stress the importance of having the mud guards on your bike. That's what it starts with, because that keeps the spray off your rear and your back, and you get home clean. And then the cleanup of your bike is a lot less, because all I had to do was clean the drivetrain for the most part, because you get a lot of grit on your chain. After the ride, clean the drivetrain and wipe down the tubes, and it was ready to go. But if you don't have mud guards, the cleanup is just so much more. And then you're dirty, and then you're wet. So even though we have mud guards, there's a stretch of the ride where you'll see, and I will talk about it on the film, when there's a lot of water pooling on the road, there's splatter.
Nice and crispy morning.
You get the same thing from cars. As they go through puddles, it splatters. That's the same stuff. So what we do, we stay to one side of the other when we have a lot of water on the road. I put Rain-X on the camera's lens so that the drops wouldn't stick. It's better with it than without it. So the images came out fairly well. We didn't have to do too much wiping. We just rode. This area takes us to a spot called that has a park called Burroughs Park. There's a lake on the right here, good sized lake. That's a new area they built over there on the left. I'm just kind of scanning with the camera to share the views. Usually there's a lot of people running and walking, but not this morning because of the weather. Because even the pedestrians sometimes don't dress properly to get out. You don't want to be poorly dressed in this weather. Because in this area, once it gets below 50, because of our high humidity, especially since it rained overnight, you're just gonna feel colder. It's kind of like getting out of the shower and being blasted with cold air. All your pores are open. So you definitely want to stay dry. So that's the key. Stay dry by using your mud guards. You got our rain jacket, and then the tights we're wearing have water repellency built into them. So they really keep, we're using the Rafa Pro Team winter tights with bibs, with the pads, I'm sorry. The bib tights with pads, that's what they call it. But it has water repellency, they call it DWR treatment or whatever, so the water beads on it. And so you can go for hours before you feel any dampness on the legs. And they have different materials for the back, your lower back area, and for the groin area, so water does not go through.
Beautiful day.
So all of that
Lovely
makes a
day.
difference if you're going to ride in the rain. You got to select the kind of tights, because there are tights out there that will repel moisture. So riding in the rain, you don't have to be wet. You have to be prepared. That's all there is to it. There's an officer sitting over there. These guys like to speed on this road, and this is a residential area where the speed limit is 50 kilometers an hour, which is like 30, let's say. And they'll be flying through here.
The ride equipment, you can ride in most challenging weather within reason.
What is the riding? You get everything.
Paul was telling me that one of his followers posted after this ride and he lives in the area. He said, I hope it wasn't too wet out there. And Paul said, he replied, he said, it was wet, but it didn't matter. I had the proper equipment. It wasn't too wet out there. You live in the same area. You saw the rain, so. I'd much rather get out in the rain and be stuck on a trainer for hours. I mean, this is Saturday. We're doing a long ride. It's worth putting on all this stuff to head out. The mud guards take a whopping 5 seconds to get on there because they're already set up for our bikes. Once you've set them up in the past, you just attach it. It's quicker than putting a saddlebag on your bike. I mean, it's quick. There's no big deal to it. They have you see the straps on Paul's bike? They have the little straps, just like you would attach a light to the bike. And in those spots, there are protective film that you put on the frame to keep the grit from affecting your clear coat. So it has a protective shield on the bike, a clear plastic film. They call them paint protection film. They ship it with those race blades. And once you've set it up, it's like a Timex. You just set it and forget it. When we're done, we just take it off. And when you take it off, you get to appreciate the job that they do, because the mud guards are full of sand when you take them off. And that's all the crap that would have gotten on your back. I mean, if you're living in an area where it rains a lot and you're getting a bike, you might as well get a bike that can take permanent mud guards.
Yeah.
But we don't get that many rainy days down here. We have like 300 days of sunshine average. So when I had my bike made, the builder asked me if I wanted eyelets to take permanent mud guards. And I told him nah. So we just use these temporary ones. They're better than most because they cover most of the rear wheel. They keep the water off of you. So worst case scenario, I guess you could stick those, what they call ass savers on your bike, but I don't think they work as well.
There we go.
They're okay in a pinch. This is a new intersection. They modified this. Used to be a curve. That's an entrance into Burroughs Park there. They added a new entrance. This is Huff Smith Road. We're on. They added a new soccer pitch on the right there. So this park has been modified. You know, kind of get people out of the house and give them a place to go and do stuff. But nobody's there. It's cold and wet. Was there this morning? The entrance we're coming to used to be the main entrance into the park on the right here. That's a new one they added over there. I actually like that they did that. It calmed the traffic down in that curve. And this road is very busy during the week because everybody's cutting through here to get to 2978 to get out to probably 249, wherever else they're going. So it's fairly busy. Whenever I come through here, you got to put your nose down, you know, try to do about 40K, depending on the conditions. But you put your nose down and work and ride. And you see where I'm positioned? That's where I position myself because I want them to only pass when they can use the left lane, the lane on the other side. You don't want them passing in your lane. The road is too narrow for that. So the rain is kind of light right now. But it continued to rain throughout the ride. There were no dry patches and so forth. And later on, you will see as the rain really pours towards the end of the ride when we got back in town. But keeping your feet dry, your hands dry, and in the cold, dry and warm, you've got to shop for the specific gloves that are designed for those conditions. Don't buy a glove for dry, cold weather, thinking it's going to keep water out. A lot of those gloves are just water resistant, meaning a short shower, maybe. But for riding in the rain for extended periods, several hours, you need a glove that is designed to keep the water out. The neoprene gloves that I'm wearing are made by AccessoriesOutdoors, and they basically trap. It's basically made out neoprene, which they use for wetsuit as well, and it will trap your body heat on your hand. And so even though it gets wet, your hand doesn't feel wet per se. Your hand just gets a little clammy in there, but it keeps you warm. So it seemed to work really well until the temperature fell, let's say, below 40 Fahrenheit. Right now it's at 45. Because once we got out there and the wind picked up, it felt a little colder. So you got to find the ranges, and then, you know, we've got like what they call the lobster claw. Got many years ago from Rafa. The lobster claw, we separate your fingers in two. That's another cover sometimes you can put over like neoprene, because neoprene has to be on your skin. And there are other gloves that will let you line and keep the rain out. So if you want to ride in the rain, invest in the coverings for your feet, hands, and a rain jacket that is breathable. You don't want to boil. And then, of course, cycling caps galore, not the standard cotton ones. You want caps for the rain, and they're out there. And a lot of them will be breathable and keep you dry in the rain. You know, most of the top vendors make specific caps for riding in the rain. So those are the key pieces, man. You get those, you're good. And with the bill on the cap I'm wearing, it kept the water from getting on my lenses, so I could still wear my glasses. And this is not a day to wear your darkest sunglasses, so I'm wearing the ones that are they almost have transition lenses in them. And so they start out clear, and then when the sun kicks in, they get darker. So it was perfect. So if you don't have those, you can get the ones that you have with changeable lenses where you can put a lighter lens in it for cloudy days. That would make a difference. In this shot, I didn't really pull my jacket all the way down because that jacket is very stretchable. It comes all the way down over the jersey. And those bands, those gray bands you see, the one down the middle and one around the bottom, are reflective. This is where we hit 2978. We're outside. We're in Tomball, Texas. This is where Robert Tengler lives in this area, in this town, Tomball, Texas. So we turn north on 2978. I think we switched the filming off here.
Save it for later. All right, you legends. We're out on 149 here. Rain's still coming down, but we're equipped. We are still completely dry. Those winter booties from Assos. My neoprene gloves.
This is Karen. We're outside a town called Karen in Montgomery
It's the
County.
critical pieces that make the most difference. And of course our rain jackets. So we are completely dry. Good morning.
There's a guy out
Completely
there.
dry. So we're enjoying this weather. I have to stay to one side of my brother because when we go through a lot of water, even with the mud guards, see the water off the tip of that flap. When we go through a pool of water, it flips up a little bit. So you have to stay to one side or the other, not directly behind.
It's splatters.
Right now it's not so bad because this road is angled to where all the water has run off. This is our first rainy ride of 2022. Weather has been weird. Usually in June we get a lot of rain. Not to be the case. It was dry. We only ride with each other because we don't want sprayed water from the rooster tail of other riders in our face. So you don't have a mud guard, you want to ride with us, you got to stay on the back. If not, then it's just the two of us because there's so much less hassle after the ride. Very little cleanup. I mean, I'm going to ride up so you can see Paul's bike. Let me get close. So
Yeah, there's nothing behind. I'm going to take the main lane.
Back here, in the front, the same thing. Let me come on the road here. You see the flap at the front wheel? All that water that would be spraying his feet is being trapped and just sprayed on the road. That's where you get dirty. That's why a lot of riders don't like to ride in the rain. The cleanup is a big job. So with these mud guards on, nothing gets on your bum. And so when you get home, all you gotta do is clean the drivetrain. The saddle stays dry. Otherwise you get a lot of grit under there.
And your feet stay dry because your front wheel will spray your shoes.
The mud guards are not that popular on this side of the pond, but it just makes sense. When I was growing up, all the bikes had them. That's what I grew up with. It just makes sense so you can ride regardless of what the weather's doing. You can't let the rain stop you.
It keeps you and your bike much cleaner. These are not as great as a full mud guard on the bike because they stop right at the brake caliper, but they're better than all the other, better than not having anything.
Also got our lights going front and back. I don't know if you can see this light.
Yeah, you can't really appreciate that light except from a distance. The beam it's like a car's beam. Because Paul was telling me about it. He said when I'm following him, sometimes he thinks it's a car.
When the road
thing.
gets really wet, we stay a little further behind each other so we don't get too much splatter.
You see the splatter from that truck as it went by? Well, we get that from our mud guards when there's a lot of water on the road. And so we stay off to the side. We're going to be going straight.
I'm going to use the road.
Yeah.
Check this guy out. As cloudy as it is, he's saving his headlights.
Yeah,
for the
these
next
drivers are. It's like night out here, and they're driving with no headlights on. What are you saving it for?
Car behind him.
I let Paul know there's a car behind me. We're going to take the road so they can know we're going straight. Not everybody cooperates on the road. That's why we have jails and we have police. So what you want to do is be as safe as possible. Somebody acting stupid, if you have to get out of the way, get out of the way. The road is not something worth risking your well-being over. So somebody acting stupid, get their license and report to the authorities. They will find them. Because there are a few stupid people out there. You don't want to let that deter you from getting out. You know. So we always keep our eye on them. All you can do is ride safely. You can't control what other people do. So this is where we go. We hit Jackson Road. This becomes Jackson Road. 149 continues to the right of that intersection. We took this way because with the rain like it is, I wanted to take a road where you have fewer intersections, and so we could ride for at least 10 kilometers before we come to an intersection. It got colder out here as we hit. It says 7C, but it felt like maybe 3 Celsius. It felt like mid-30s out here. So you have to dress for where you're headed. So they have shoe covers that are designed for.
Yeah.
They have shoe covers that are designed. I'm telling Paul about one of the features on the 1040 Garmin. So I locked the unit because if you're in the rain and raindrops settle on there, it can affect the data fields. It makes it seem like you're trying to change the data field. So in the rain, I always lock the display. And once you lock the display, you don't have that issue. Because raindrops just sit on there and it starts freaking out the software thinking you want to change your fields. But what I was saying was that you kind of, when you roll out, you want to make sure that you've got things that will keep you warm. They make booties that are for just all year, just to keep you dry. They're lighter weight. So if you're going to wear those, then you want to make sure you're wearing your warmest socks and so forth. Well, I like to keep my feet nice and toasty. So I'm wearing what the brand, this is made by Asos, they call winter booties. And basically they're designed to keep you dry and warm. I have other ones that will keep you warm and only resist water for like 2 hours. This one, well over 5 hours, I didn't have any problems. A little bit of dampness at the end of the ride, but nothing major. And I believe some of that comes in from depending on whether the wind is whipping and there's a lot of wind-driven stuff. And then we have other things that we use, like Paul's wearing something that kept him completely dry. You guys have probably heard of it, called Velo Toes. That's what he's wearing. And I find that those are best when it's 10C or below. Because in warmer weather, the Velo Toes, you get too hot because it does not breathe. But it does keep you completely dry. So we have everything we need. And all we do is, okay, what is the weather doing? And then we select what we need to wear and get out there. So everybody seems to think that when you ride in the rain, you got to be wet. It's kind of like going to the store in the rain. If you don't take an umbrella, yeah, you're going to be wet. If you don't take a coat, you're going to be wet. So you've got to prepare for it. It makes no sense. Otherwise, don't go out. If you're just willing to get out there and just wing it and hope that it doesn't rain, well, then that's the way it is. So when there's a threat of rain, we always slap on the mud guards, because once or twice we got caught without our mud guards and the ride was miserable. It wasn't cold or anything. It was miserable because we were filthy. The grit was on our shorts and everything. Just a mess. So the rain is picking up now. staying a little to his right because that wind is coming from in the front, and it seems to be coming from the left more than anything, but it's changing because this road moved all over. So depending on where the road is curving, I'll stay on the right for a while, then I drift over, but I'm staying right here on the right. In a little bit, I'm going to tell him stay to your left. Stay to your left. I want him to stay to his left because I want to make sure those geniuses use the other lane to pass. You saw that white car that passed earlier, acting like he couldn't move over because he wasn't patient enough to wait for the oncoming car, and he tried to use this lane even though we're closer to the side. So this way they have to move over. When you're out riding, just assume that the average person does not make good decisions. So you have to place yourself accordingly, and so they have one decision to make, meaning they need to move over or sit behind you and wait. Only give them the chance to pass you in your lane if it's safe to do so. If there's a shoulder, definitely use a shoulder. But other than that, if you're going to use the road, you got to make sure that there's enough room for them to pass you in your lane safely. If not, you take the lane. And I said average because there are drivers that will wait and make a smooth pass without interfering with what you're doing. But there's enough of them making poor decisions. That's why we have car crashes every day. We lose thousands of people a day on the roads. There's nothing wrong with the roads. It's just everybody, some of them do reckless things, and we see it when we're cycling. In crowded situations, they want to show off the power that they have in the car, and then they do dumb things and have problems. You know what I'm talking about. You have people in heavy traffic darting in and out, changing lanes, going nowhere, taking chances, and they create situations where there's a crash. So we're using half of this lane, so they have to move over. And so I keep my eye on them still. You know, I've got a mirror on the bike, and I keep my eye on cars that are coming. There aren't that many. It's just to get a few now and then on this road. That's pretty standard on this road.
Colder out here. Yeah.
It's gotten colder. It still said 7C even on my head unit, but it felt colder. And 7 Celsius is about 45 degrees Fahrenheit, but it felt like 38 or 39 Fahrenheit. But I cannot stress enough how comfortable we were out here, just with the right equipment. I mean, it was just nice. So it's worth the investment to where if you want to get out, you get out. And the reason that we get the pieces we get, like for cold or rain, is because the window I have to ride on Saturday is in the morning. It's not for the afternoon. I can't switch it around. I got other things going on. You know, so it's the same thing with you. If you got to go to work at noon, you can only ride in the morning. So if you want to get out, and it's a certain time of the year, depending on where you live, if the roads are clear and the temperature is low, like 40 or 45 or whatever, you got to put on some stuff to stay warm. And you can still go and do your ride. We went out after this ride. We went out on Sunday, and we did an even longer ride than this on Sunday. And on the way back, when we got closer to home, we saw somebody. It was like probably 52 degrees Fahrenheit, about 11 Celsius when we got back into town. But it felt like 7 Celsius, let's say, or even 4 Celsius, so 40 degrees Fahrenheit. It felt like 40. We saw a rider from the distance with summer shorts on. And I told Paul, I say, he's cold. Because we could feel the wind on our face at the end of that ride. It may have said 52, but it was one of those days where because of all this rain, the day after this day, there's a lot of humidity. It was cold. I see a lot of riders that underdressed. You can't ride long. So what they do is they head out, they get cold, and they take the shortest way home. They can't stay out there. It's cold. You know, you live in an area here, it gets cold here. You know, it gets hot here in the summer, but it gets cold in the winter. And winter hasn't even come yet. So if you live in an area that's going to get that cold, you got to get what you need. This part of the world, you know, gets cold. You're trying to be cute. You're not going to be riding. I'm sure you see them in your area, underdressed. Trust me, they ain't riding long. They're going to find the shortest way to get back home and get home and be shivering. You know? Doesn't make you tough when you go out there poorly dressed. Just mean you're not using your brain. There is a quote on the Veloharmony site where they have there's a site called Veloharmony where they have the rules of cycling. And, you know, they tell you if you're riding in bad weather, you're badass, period. And then they got other things that said, somebody posted something that said, if you're out there riding in challenging weather, not dressed properly, doesn't mean you're tough. It means you're stupid. You know, I saw that a long time ago and I just laughed. Because you're just going to be miserable. You're going to have an early, if you keep that up, you have an early onset of arthritis. Your knee has no tissue around it. You need to cover your knees, please. You know how your hands hurt when it's really cold? That's how your knees will be if the cold air keeps hitting it. You're not going to be able to ride. Your body will take all the energy it has and put it around your core. You won't be able to ride because you'll be trying to keep your foolish self alive. And you're going to take the shortest way home and get home and feel miserable for the rest of the evening trying to warm up. See, I see a lot of riders. I'll be going out, you know, in the winter, you know, you all covered up. They got shorts on and a short sleeve jersey. I just smile. Like, yeah, right. Because the area we live in, it's called near the Woodlands. We always ride through the Woodlands. With those trees, the very thing that keeps it cooler in the summer.
Your jacket's up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling him to pull that down so the rain doesn't get on his, The very thing that keeps it cool in the summer, those trees that clean the air. The Woodlands always colder than when you go into like Metro Houston where there's a lot of concrete. You're out in the woods here. Look at this. This is like a forest. You're gonna be cold. When we hit this road,
same. It just feels colder.
that's what I'm telling Paul. As soon as we hit Jackson, it just got colder. You could feel it. I had unzipped my rain jacket before we got to Jackson. Once we got there, the temperature felt colder. I just zipped it up.
Completely dry.
Yeah, that's the key. Stay dry, and you will be fine. You'll be warm. So you got to make sure you get shoe covers that actually keep water out, because there are a bunch of them out there that will resist a shower, but not work very well in sustained rain. And this is sustained rain. So don't look for the ones that say water resistant. You want the ones that are designed to be like waterproof for serious, what they call the harshest weather riding. Because most of them are water resistant because they treat the fabric to bead water. Well, that treatment only lasts for so long. You might get a couple of hours. That's it. Those are good when you go out on a day where a shower pops up and they'll be fine. But not a day where it's supposed to rain for hours on end.
Use half of the lane. That's it.
I didn't want Paul to go near the white line. Like you heard me tell him, use half of the lane. We want them to move over. Because I'm on his right, because the wind now seems to be blowing from his left and in our face. You can see the watts, 300 some watts a little bit ago. I'm keeping my rhythm right around 75 to 85. Because we're going directly into the wind and climbing. This is around 2.5%, 3%. Not everybody recognizes your right to be on the road on a bicycle. So even though I'm explaining what we're doing here, every now and then you get a moron that wants to blare their horn as they go by or whatever. If they endanger you, get their license plate number and call the authorities. Do not try to do something yourself. Let the authorities educate them. Their stupidity is not your problem. Because some of them will go out of their way to pass you very close to try to prove a point. And if you can get their license plate, report them for reckless driving. Call the local precinct in the area where it occurred. They look into complaints. The reason they do is because even though they're undermanned, which most of our peace officer departments are compared to the percentage of the population, they look into complaints because they don't want people taking the law into their own hands. Because in this state, it's easy to get a gun. Well, in this country, I guess. So there are a lot of people out there packing, and you mess with the wrong person, you get shot. We have a lot of shootings. That's why I don't watch our local news, because of a lot of the stuff from the metro area. They don't give you details. They just say, oh, there was 6 shootings. They go through the number of shootings on the news every night. And if you listen to that, you'll be like, man, I need to move out of this town. They make it seem like it's worse than it is, but a lot of those shootings are localized. And what I mean by that is someone didn't mind their business, they messed with someone, and they got shot. The news people don't report that. They don't give you the details of why these people were shot. I'm not talking about these crazy mass shootings or whatever. I'm talking about somebody pissing someone off and getting shot. Happens a lot in this town. So when you watch the local news, you'll hear like 5 or 6 different shootings occurred in Houston today. And you're like, man. But it's not just people randomly going around shooting. It's people not minding their business, messing with the wrong people, and people escalate stuff. Happens very frequently here. And the unfortunate thing is the news stories like NBC and CBS, the local affiliates, they spend more time giving you the number of shootings versus why it occurred. So when you go to the website and you try to follow up the story and you read the full article, then you find out that, oh yeah, this guy was messing with this guy, or he sat on his car, or he did something, most of it not that major, but people have different things that they react to. So once you start going into the details, you're like, yeah, people don't mind their business. You keep messing with people, you will run into the wrong person. And that's what happens. They get on the road and they call road rage. Well, it's unfortunate that people will try to take someone's life because of something that occurs on the road, but it does happen. So if you're not courteous and you're going around cutting people off, and at some point you'll cut off the wrong person and he's crazier than you have a problem. So I got off on that tangent just to let you know that when you're riding, follow the rules of the road, do the best you can to stay safe, but do not try to escalate situations that occur. Report the offenders. That keeps it better. That protects you. It's better that way. So this is where we hit 1486. And because of the cold weather, we needed to pee more often than normal, so we're making a lot of pit stops on this ride.
Beautiful. It's been raining all day. It's about 45, 46 degrees Fahrenheit, about 7 Celsius. Just a lovely day. This is mushroom weather, man. Look at this. Just lovely. And we are dry, almost 4.5 hours in the rain, dry. The right equipment, the right pieces, in the right spots. Definitely the mud guards, or fenders, or depending on what you call them. That's the most critical piece.
Biggest contributor to your comfort. Without
been
those,
steady
you can
rain
have
all day.
the best
Feels like we're
equipment
in,
that won't matter.
Seattle, Washington or something. Just lovely.
The cap I'm wearing is made by Rafa. It's a synthetic.
By the time we're done, it'll be about 5 hours on the clock.
It beads water. It repels water, so nothing gets to your head. So
It
you
is
stay
cold
dry.
and it's wet. But if you have the right pieces, no worries.
We're on Flintridge Drive in the Woodlands, Texas.
Neoprene.
Yeah, that's a very thick neoprene. So it's like wetsuit for the hands. Yep. That's the best way I can describe it. You know, they have their limit.
See the spray? Even though he's got that, the splatter, so much water. It's been raining. It rained overnight too.
Yeah, but below 40, those gloves wouldn't work well by themselves to keep you warm.
That's what I'm talking about.
You'd need some
It's
protection.
a lovely day, man.
Put on the crab's claw or something. But I love the feel. I love how you can feel the bars, and then the inside of those gloves are designed to basically make it grippy.
Look at this day.
It's a lovely day.
The squirrels didn't come out today.
Yeah, we didn't see that many squirrels. They don't like the rain that much. I think we saw one squirrel. I think
Love the rain.
Yeah, look at that. Just
The right kind of rain. Steady and
this kind of rain is really good for our area because it does not encourage flooding. It's been steady and light, and throughout the night it rained overnight, so we didn't have any flash floods on our country roads and stuff, you know.
For all conditions. Don't interrupt the training.
Yeah, you can't let the rain stop you. I mean, if you're trying to get ready for an event or you want to just stay fit all year round, it's a lot easier on your psyche to be able to get out than being stuck on a trainer.
love being out on the bike. This is just lovely.
Yep.
I just love being on the bike, especially on Saturday mornings. Go out, clear your head after a tough week, you know, after your week, your work week, clears your head, recharges your batteries to deal with the next week. That's what it's all about. You don't need to be competing to enjoy being on the bicycle. You just get out, clear your head, get ready for your week. So, you know,
There's fewer cars on the road when it rains.
yeah, these pieces that we get, my logic is you're not going to be buying them every day. So buy the best stuff and be done instead of skimping and getting things that don't work well and dealing with that hassle. Get the stuff that works and it will last you for seasons to come.
I wanted to go check out that construction. Let's
Okay.
go right. Let's see how much they've
far?
done.
Yeah, there's a bridge being built on Gosling Road, which is what we're approaching off of Flintridge here. We're in the Woodlands, Texas, wrapping up the ride. We're about 20 minutes from home by bike. About 6 miles, let's say, something like that. This is Gosling Road.
Here it is.
Give it to me. Don't turn it off. Leave it on. We're gonna go check out the construction because they're building a new bridge. Let's take them with us. Come on.
We couldn't get close enough to see the bridge on this side because they have it closed off. Because if they don't, these geniuses will try to venture on there and injure themselves or kill themselves. So they have it closed off because they're not completely done. So you can see it from a distance, but we couldn't get close enough. And tell her there's a lot of debris on this shoulder
Cyclist right here.
because there's a cyclist blowing at us from across the way. He probably couldn't get out. He sees it out. He's like, da, da, da.
Yeah, he's beeping at us.
You can tell. He's like,
we see a plethora of cyclists on this route that we did today.
we didn't see anybody.
Not a soul.
I just won.
And I don't blame them. If you don't have mud guards and it's below 50 or 10 Celsius, it's cold enough to where you will be miserable because your butt will be wet and your feet will be wet. Because the spray from your wheels intensify, you know, water getting through. I mean, you'd probably need what my brother's wearing over there if you didn't have mud guard for your feet. But your rear will be wet and then you get cold when you're wet. So as you can see, we're dry. We got breathable rain jackets on. This is not the day for a rain vest. Unless you got arm warmers that are water resistant, this is the day for a jacket. So I treated my jacket as a third layer and only wore a short sleeve base layer, thermal jersey, and this jacket. And it's perfect. And the brim of this cap keeps the water off my lenses. So I didn't have to take off my lenses. That's great. There's construction going on up ahead, and we want to see how much progress they've made, because they're building a bridge that will give 4 lanes instead of us sharing the current lane. And we'll start using it once they open it up. We go home this way instead of using a bike path. Come on down, Rain. This is a day of days. So I hope you all got your K's in, but this is part of what we did on Saturday.